Hey everyone, welcome to Talk-A-Raptor episode 14. This is Talk-A-Raptor. Since this is episode 14, I'm going to be giving you my first impressions on the first 14 audiobooks of the Dresden Files. Last year after I reviewed Harry Potter, Morden84 wrote, "If you have reading modern-day fantasy stores, then have you ever heard of the Dresden Files? It might sound a lot like Harry Potter, but it's actually completely different. The main character is a combination of a grizzled private detective and a fireball-totting wizard. One reason I think you might like it is that several books in, he animates and rides a zombie dinosaur. I figured that would appeal to you." Why yes, that does appeal to me. Please continue. In addition, not only does he only sleep with women over 18, at one point he actually dumped a bucket of water on a woman who was trying to seduce him with a naked towel because she was, quote, just a kid. Though I think she was actually over 18 at that point. Well, better safe than sorry. I could tell from this review that Harry Dresden was just my kind of guy, and so I listened to all 14 currently available audiobooks over the next 12 months. Here's what I thought of them. First thing to like about this series is the character himself, Harry Dresden. He is a total badass, and I would go so far as to say that he is the best true main character I have ever seen in any form of fiction. Call it anime, TV, movies, books, etc. Now perhaps that isn't all that bold of a statement. I mean, usually my favorite characters are side characters, and the benefit of side characters is that they don't get the kind of exposure you really need to expose the flaws in their writing. Other times it's really common to have split leads, and that has the same sort of shielding effect. You're not consistently focused on the same character chapter after chapter. However, the Dresden Files is told from the first-person perspective of Harry Dresden for 14 pretty long books. You really need a good character to make that work. Second thing you gotta like about this novel series is the plot. Now, you guys know me, I love a good plot, and you're getting them here. Each individual book has its own strong mystery plot, and together they develop into an overarching plot that's pretty captivating. Now, there are a few plot points I'm definitely not going to mention, first of all because I don't want to spoil any of the mystery, but also because some of the plot points may seem kind of lame in light of some recent pop cultural phenomena. For example, there's a lot of talk about fairy queens and vampires fighting against their true vampiric nature. It sounds kind of lame if you have not read the books, so I would definitely recommend going into that without any preconceptions. Third thing you really gotta like about this series is the sense of humor. The author is constantly injecting comedy into an otherwise grim series, and it provides for some great balance. For example, Harry Dresden is constantly quoting Star Wars. It's pretty cool. Now, there are some negatives about the comedy that I'm going to get into a little bit later, but for the most part, it really works. Of course, no fair and balanced Talk-A-Raptor review would be complete without some criticism. And the first thing I gotta criticize about this series are the side characters. Now, they're not bad, but they're not good either. They're mostly just role players. And that's perfectly fine in this particular series because Harry Dresden is such a strong central character, and also it is plot heavy, so you don't need much from the side characters. However, none of them really impressed me. I was asking myself the other day, after Harry, who's my favorite side character? Couldn't really think of one. So while the side characters are not bad, they don't really stand out to me, and I think the author could definitely improve upon this. Now, characters are allowed to have feelings for better or worse. But there is a time and place for it, and Harry is usually working with a pretty serious deadline. He's, say, having to save the world in 48 hours, and he's going along desperately trying to find clues. Save the feelings talk for after you save the world, because what often happens is that people come over, they pull him aside, and make him talk about his feelings. No, save the world first, talk about your feelings later. Jim Butcher likes to write a lot of strong female characters, and good, because women who kick ass are better than women who can't kick ass. That's really indisputable. The problem is that oftentimes, these women, they display their strength by pushing back against some of Harry Dresden's more chauvinistic tendencies. Sometimes this is perfectly justifiable, other times it completely defies common sense. Harry Dresden is one of the strongest wizards in the world. A lot of the other characters, they don't even come close to Harry in terms of raw power. Especially some of these women who are completely mortal. And so when Harry says, "Don't come to the fight, you're going to get hurt," and these women respond by saying, I am a grown woman, I can take care of myself. Then they end up getting stabbed or thrown off a cliff or something, and it was clear that they never stood a chance to begin with. It gets really frustrating after a while. Getting back to the sense of humor I was talking about earlier, Jim Butcher really expresses his sense of humor through the character of Harry Dresden, and that's one of the reasons Dresden is such a fun character. My one criticism with regard to this, however, is that it's often the side characters who are setting him up, or the side characters hitting him with witty retorts. It just feels kind of weird for all these complementary characters with different personalities to suddenly be in tune with him on the comedy. As a comedy writer myself, I feel this is kind of lazy. My current grade for the series is a double plus. For those of you who are unfamiliar with what that means, it is a strong recommendation, but it's not as strong as the triple plus, which is the strongest recommendation I can give. And I did have the series on the triple plus track earlier in the series. However, after about 6 or 7 books, I bumped it down to double plus simply because the overarching plot between the novels wasn't moving as quickly as I wanted it to. Now, the jury's still out on this because the series is far from over. However, unless the series progresses a bit quicker, or unless there's some spectacular ending I never would have seen coming, I would expect the series to finish off as a double plus. Now, that's still a strong recommendation. Check out the books. If you're into audiobooks, listen to those too. I listen to them from James Marsters. He really does a great job. Alright, that's all for now. I'll see you next time.